Yo, 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 this is it. It's happening. You wanted a stable camera? You got a stable camera. And now all I have to do is find the camera lens so that I can see you. There you are. That's you. And I'm staring at you beneath a blinding white light. My God, I'm not going to have any cataracts left by the end of this video. Anyway, I went to see Bad Times at the El Royale. This is a film written and directed by Drew Goddard, who wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes. He wrote and directed The Cabin in the Woods. He wrote The Martian, the movie. And why is this film flopped? It's flopped. It cost like 32 million. It made 28 million. I don't understand it. Hollywood is bizarre. I could talk about this for a long, long time. I don't know if I will, but why is it that so many genuinely interesting, well-made, well-directed, meticulous films that are clearly cared for and well-loved by their directors, their creators, just flop? It's like Colossal last year. Clever, interesting, fresh, controlled, failed at the box office. Southland Tales failed at the box office. I mean, almost everything that's kind of original, slightly different, but basically artistic, let's say, but not artistic in a kind of annoying way where you know you're watching an art house film. Artistic in almost a Quentin Tarantino way, like someone who genuinely, clearly loves the art form of film, loves to watch film, loves to make film. I mean, this film flopping makes me question a lot about the time and the era that we are currently living in, because I came out thinking, that was really good. It's a really good movie. It's not the best thing ever, but it's really good. It's one of the best films I've seen this year without question, okay? I can't really fault it in terms of the areas of cinema that it accomplishes. And what I mean by that is I tend to look at cinema in terms of like individual pieces. So there's cinematography, there's acting, there's directing, there's music, there's Foley, which is the sound effects, there's script, did I say script? Story, all of these little pieces that it takes to make a film. And every single one of those pieces this film does great. You could argue, some might argue it's a bit too long, but people said that about Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction, and those films were still huge successes, and people loved them. Now, the only thing I'd criticize this film for really is that it's better directed than the actual overall story itself upon first viewing, because it's so well directed that it seems like it could have actually been a bigger and more profound film. It's like profound directing for a film that's not necessarily all that profound, but that's not a problem, because in terms of the skill set of what you're looking at, like Oscar Wilde used to say, style and aesthetic is everything. Like if a book is well written, you read it because it's well written. If a film is well made, you watch it. If a dancer can dance, you watch them dance because they're highly skilled at what they do. And this film is kind of like that. Everything is on point. Anyway, it flopped. I had something else creeping into the recesses of my consciousness just then, as I'm here confabulating on the mic, spitting verbals, waxing lyrics, letting my audio run down this white wire into that smartphone so that you can hear it inside your brain, my thoughts transmuted to your thoughts. It's like I'm actually currently creeping into your consciousness so that the two of us are merging and becoming one temporarily, but not in a sexual way, a verbal way. That's what happens when people talk and communicate, share ideas, share thoughts. It's interesting, isn't it? It's a separate subject, but it is kind of interesting and strange. This idea of individuality, there isn't really anything as individuality, is there? That's why we go to the cinema, so we can take on something else, so it can change us, transform us, make us new, make us think, make us feel things that we've never felt before. That's why I go. And if somebody speaks to you and they influence you and they change you and they shape you and they inspire you, and maybe you take words someone else has told you and you say those words to someone else, well, you're not an individual anymore, and you never were, because language itself comes from other people, doesn't it? We didn't invent it. I didn't invent these words. I'm just borrowing these words and using them for you. That's a whole interesting thing. I was thinking about copyright recently. Imagine if they copyrighted language. Like on YouTube, you know, I had so many problems you wouldn't believe whenever I was uploading videos. I got flagged on copyright for everything, right? There are people on here going, you should work harder on your videos if you're making money. What money? I'm not making any money. All my videos get flagged for copyright. But I was thinking, it's ridiculous. Like, what if someone copyrighted language? Well, no, we invented that word. That word is ancient Latin. We're out here, like in Greece, we're going to patent it. So you can't use those words anymore. And if those words appear in your videos, you have to pay us. Anyway, it's just ridiculous. Copyright, man. Move on. Evolve. That's what happens. We share. We learn that way. And speaking of which, let's get back to the movie. To be honest, I don't know what else to say about it. It's really good and it's really well made and it didn't deserve to flop, and it says a lot that's negative about people today, because when a movie comes out that's got Jeff Bridges in it and it's got the writer of The Martian, which was a huge movie, which I have not seen, if I'm telling you the truth, ain't seen it. Big fan of Ridley Scott, went back and watched his early stuff when The Martian came out, thinking, let me catch up on his old films. And then I just didn't watch The Martian. I got caught up on the late 70s stuff. Anyway, it was late 70s. So, should I say something else about the movie? Yes. I was thinking, if Pulp Fiction had come out now, brand new, brand clean, as some English folk once said, would Pulp Fiction be a success? Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't be a success, because maybe it's just not the time and place for it. Too many people on smartphones, too many people hypnotized, captivated, lured in by the screen at home, Netflixized. That's a word I just invented. Copyright, by the way, you can't use it. You have to pay me if you use the word Netflixized. Basically, hooked on Netflix, addicted. Maybe if Pulp Fiction came out, people just wouldn't go to see it. I don't know. Because this falls into that category. It's like a comic book type fun movie. Like it's not anything bigger than what it is. If you think of like Pulp Fiction, it is what it's called. Pulp Fiction means like old throwaway novels, something fun and pacey and exciting, but something that exists just to be that, fun, pacey, exciting. And that's enough. Sometimes that's all you want from cinema, and that's what this film is too, on first viewing. I might see it again and find that it's multi-layered with depth and nuance and meaning and feeling and expression that I didn't miss, because sometimes it doesn't all go in on the first viewing, and there was definitely a lot of love involved in it. I'm going to tell you something that stayed with me from my life. I don't know if I should name him. I won't name him just in case, but a guy I know, a friend of mine, is one of the main designer builders on Star Wars. You know, the new ones. He weren't around when the original was made, but he works on Star Wars all the time, every day. Sucks his life out of him, it does, doing 14, 15-hour days building stuff. But anyway, he loves movies, and I love movies, and we talk about movies. And we talked about The Last Dinosaur, that Pixar film, which I thought was a very disappointing movie. And what he said about it is, he said, yes, he said, it didn't feel loved enough. And I thought, that's a beautiful way of putting it. It did not feel loved enough. Like, whoever created it, I know it had director problems and mishaps and changes and swapping of directors and all that stuff, but it just felt like whoever had that final hand in it was trying to make it work to get it ready for the cinema, but it was one of those, like, just fucking get it done so that I can get on with my life, as opposed to this is my life, loving it like you would love a child, trying to make it as perfect as you could. And a lot of artists, especially those guys on Star Wars who are, whatever you think of the films, they are behind the scenes crafting everything to try and make it perfect and beautiful, and they're proud of it. And he's not the only guy who I know on Star Wars, and it's a common thing from the few people I know who work on that movie. It's a saying that they have. Like, they'll look at something and say, not loved enough. There's not enough love in it. Change it, fix it, make it better. But the first time I heard the phrase was he said it, and then other people who I've met through that, on that film, who work on it, they said it too. And the interesting thing about Bad Times at the El Royale, why I mention it, is because clearly it is very well loved by its writer-director. He did work very hard on it. I can tell he planned it, he storyboarded it, he dreamed about it before he made it. It was his obsession for however long he was putting it together. And it's very well loved, and it's nice to see a film like that where the director's like, I've made something I cared about. And it's not the greatest tragedy ever that it's a flop. It's not a huge flop. I would place a hefty bet that it will make profit, because it cost 32 million and it made 29 million. So it will make its money back. But I just think, why is it that films that come out that are assembly line cinema, designed just to be put out and make money, they do make money? And they're not art. They're just products, right? Like buying confectionery at the till when you leave the supermarket. They're the equivalent of a packet of sweets. And those big popular movies make a hell of a lot of money. And oftentimes the ones that are smaller things that are not superhero movies, not sequels, not remakes. I know everyone says this. There's no point in me saying it. Everyone says it. Everyone knows it. But basically, the smaller films that are well loved tend to fail. And I almost think maybe there's something powerful in that, because certain directors, like when Tim Burton made Ed Wood, not Edward Scissorhands, the film he made after Edward Scissorhands, Ed Wood, the black and white film about the supposedly bad director Ed Wood. Tim Burton made it in black and white, and he was warned this film will not make as much money in black and white. It's a guarantee, make it in color. And Tim Burton was like, no, I'm making it in black and white because I want to do it my way, and I don't care if it makes less money. And that's really the kind of attitude you want. And those are the directors you want to see. And those are the films I want to see. The ones where the director's like, trust me, you're going to like it. Watch it. I'll do it my way. And yeah, Drew Goddard definitely had that vibe with this. Now, again, it ain't the best thing ever. It's not as good as Ed Wood. It's not as good as Pulp Fiction. It's not as good as Forrest Gump. But it's extremely well made. And it's on the caliber of one of those directors who knows his craft. And I really liked Cabin in the Woods, which he made. And after this, I'm really looking forward to whatever he does next. I just hope he has an opportunity to make more. And he doesn't get, put in a shitty parking space in Hollywood where they're like, no, mate, you ain't directing nothing else, mate. We've had enough of you. You can go there and write your Netflix Daredevil show, which he did. He created Daredevil. I only watched half an episode of that. I didn't actually like that because I've read a lot of the Daredevil comics, and I was like, this ain't Daredevil. Daredevil's bright and colourful. This is dark like Batman. But I might change my mind. I might go back and watch it and like that. But anyway, that's that. That's this video. Went around the houses, spoke very little about the film, but it's good. I highly recommend it. Set aside some time, pay attention. It's a good, intelligently made, well-crafted, well-loved film. Bad Times at the El Royale. Check it out. Bye-bye. Ta-da. Love you. Bye. Bye.